Evening. Ah, Ricky, how are you?
Hey, hello, Phil.
Sure, thanks.
Okay.
Just for those who expect me to be chair, I don't start by chairing this, by the way, because I'm technically not chair of Parliament anymore. So bear with it; it will all be explained. For those who are new, it means what I've said means nothing to anybody who is new. So don't worry about that.
So who's chairing the meeting?
Initially, it's going to be Marcus, but don't worry, normal service may be resumed, depending on what you do.
Sooner rather than later.
Oh, that's down to you, actually. We're a democracy.
Let's get started.
It's
The usual.
there's the man who's in charge of the day.
Hey, good evening, all.
Hello,
Hi.
welcome.
Hiya.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. Oh, yes, good evening. I think we are complete, are we? Aren't we?
Mm,
Let me just
people
check.
still-
Doing
So
fine.
there's-
Welcome.
We are
Jessica
62.
also. Bridget. Welcome.
There are still some missing, right?
Yeah, it normally takes a few minutes for people to get in.
About 100.
So let's wait another
Yeah.
another 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think so. Makes sense.
3 minutes is generous in German efficiency.
Education.
Trying to figure out time zones.
Okay, so I would say let's start the meeting. Dear members of the Parliament, my name is Marcus Asgardia. I hold the position of Deputy Head of Administration to the Head of Nation. However, today I'm opening this sitting as Chairman of the Central Electoral Commission, CEC, pursuant to decree number 68 of 29th Capricornus 0007, equal to the 31st December of 2022, of the Head of Nation of Asgardia on holding the parliamentary election. So the of the sitting of the Central Electoral Commission, following the review of the results of the election to the second Parliament of Asgardia 03, Leo 0007, the 20th of June 2023. The Central Electoral Commission, under the chairmanship of myself, Marcus von Kronbach, has reviewed the report of the Counting Commission under the chairmanship of Saltanat Salamentova. The CEC confirms that the preliminary verification of 231 candidates, which you can find at Annex 1, which was published already in the decree, who have met the mandatory requirements as per the provision on elections to the Parliament of Asgardia, as well as the review of the identification documents of the candidates have been deemed valid. Based on the County Commission's report, which you can find and is published at Annex 2, the results of the elections to the second Parliament of Asgardia are currently available, resulting in the identification of 150 members of the Parliament, as shown in Annex 3. No falsifications or other instances of gross misconducts have been uncovered. In accordance with the regulations of the Asgardian Parliament election, the CEC starts the mandatory international crime background check, which will begin 27 hours following the publication of this decree. If a member of the Parliament refuses the background check and thus removes their candidacy, they must immediately notify CEC by sending a message to the elections to the email elections@asgardia.space with the subject line criminal background check. A member of Parliament can also be rejected after the criminal background check should the CEC be presented with facts of violation of election regulations and/or the Constitution of Asgardia. Acceptance of and adherence to the Constitution of Asgardia are mandatory for all of the citizens of Asgardia. Thus, as chairman of the CEC, I hereby affirm that the elections has been declared valid as evidenced by decree number 71 dated 03 Leo 0007 by the Asgardian calendar, which is equivalent to the 20th of June 2023. Issued by the head of nation of Asgardia. Yeah, that's so far the protocol. I turn the floor over to Mr. Lembit Opik, a member of the new Parliament of Asgardia, the former chairman, as you well know, of the first Parliament of Asgardia, to proceed over today's sitting. Thank you very much for listening. Lembit,
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you very much indeed, Marcus. Good to see you, and welcome back to all those who were in the previous Parliament, and welcome to all those who have just joined us. I was the chair of the first Parliament of Asgardia, and it was a great honour. Just to explain my status now, it may seem strange to say this, but I'm not technically the chair at the moment. You have to decide who the chair of the Parliament is. I'll explain some technical processes in just a moment, but I just want to tell you that you will find, if you've just joined us, you'll find this a very warm, welcoming, and non-partisan place to be. We don't fight, we work together. So if you have any problems at all, then please do say, and we'll be more than happy to clarify anything. I just wanted to check, Linda, can you confirm, do we have the translators in place? In which case, let's go to the translation process first. I can see that we do. So before we go any further, let's start by hearing from our interpreters, because if you speak Russian, Spanish, or Turkish, we have a special way that you can follow proceedings. So let's go to our Russian interpreter first.
Уважаемые члены парламента, хочу пояснить новичкам и напомнить тем, кто уже участвует в парламенте второго созыва не первый раз, порядок работы через перевод. Перевод осуществляется на заседаниях синхронный на и с 3 языков: испанского, русского и турецкого. Поэтому для того, чтобы участвовать полноценно, вам нужно слушать все, что происходит в русской комнате или по-другому в русском канале. Если же вы будете говорить, выступать, то говорить вы должны в основном канале, в главной комнате. Ничего, никаких кнопочек нажимать дополнительных не нужно. Слушайте в русском канале, говорите в основном канале. Единственная просьба, если вы будете выступать, говорите, пожалуйста, чуть медленнее, чем обычно, особенно если вы будете что-то зачитывать. А паузы для перевода делать не нужно. И еще одна просьба, если вы особенно новичок, пожалуйста, озаботьтесь хорошей гарнитурой и прежде всего хорошим микрофоном. Наушники, качество наушников будет влиять только на вас, качество вашего микрофона будет влиять на всех. Поскольку если переводчик не услышит, что вы говорите, или услышит плохо, то, соответственно, и перевод будет некачественный. Вот и все, что я вам хотел сказать. Удачи вам и плодотворной работы. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. Let's move to our Spanish interpreter. Good day to you.
Good day. Buenos días a todos, queridos parlamentarios. Bienvenidos a esta primera sesión del segundo Parlamento de Asgardia. Como pueden ver en las traducciones debajo, van a ver que tenemos los idiomas ruso, turco y español. Si tienen que hablar en su idioma, por favor, estén pendientes de hacer clic en el idioma correcto. Y para escuchar también deben estar en el canal correcto. Si tienen alguna pregunta, siempre pregúntenle a Linda, ella se comunica inmediatamente con nosotros. Las traducciones se están haciendo simultáneas, no tienen que parar, pero tengan pendiente de hablar un poco despacio para poder hacer la mejor traducción e interpretación posible de lo que están diciendo. Así que felicidades a los nuevos y que tengamos una gran primera sesión. Gracias.
Thank you, Liz, and I hope everything is going great for you there in South Korea. Let's go to our Turkish interpreter next.
Değerli parlamenterler, öncelikle hepinize iyi akşamlar diliyoruz. Ve seçim sonuçlarının da hepimiz için hayırlı olmasını tekrardan temenni ediyoruz. Tekrardan seçilen ve yeni aramıza katılan parlamenterlerimize de hayırlı olmasını dileriz. Eski katılımcılarımızın bildiği üzere toplantı sırasında devamlı olarak simultane tercüme hizmeti sunulmakta. Bizleri Türkçe dinleyebilmeniz için aşağıdaki tercüme butonundan Türkçe kanalını seçmeniz gerekmekte. Onun dışında eğer sizler parlamentoya seslenmek isterseniz ve Türkçe olarak konuşmak isterseniz bizler yine anında İngilizceye çeviri yapıyor olacağız. Sizin herhangi bir şey yapmanıza, herhangi bir yere basmanıza gerek yok. Bizler otomatikman İngilizceye çeviriyor olacağız. Sizlerden sadece ricamız mümkün olduğunca yavaş ve anlaşılır bir şekilde konuşmanız olacak. Şimdiden tekrardan hepinize başarılar dileriz. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, if you have any problems and if you don't know how it's working, then you just tell me, just raise your hand or just speak out. It takes time to get used to our systems, but the systems work really well. Let's go to Sanat. Sanat, over to you, sir.
Lambit, I don't think I'm getting English translation to these things.
Right. I was listening in a different one. Okay.
I don't think you're supposed to get English yet, Sanat. I think that's just a startup. I
So
suspect.
I'm not getting it. Okay.
That-
If it's not working, that's fine. Yeah.
In other words, Sanat, what that means is it is working because it's not working. I think that you'll find when the time comes, it will work. During that introductory part, we don't normally interpret, but if there is a problem and someone speaks in Russian, Spanish, or Turkish, then please say.
All right.
It takes a bit of time to get used to the system. If you're new, don't worry. It's not a problem. We'll make sure that everything works just fine. This evening is quite procedural, and let's start with the most important thing. Just for now, I will facilitate this. I have to say that the first thing we have to do is to approve the agenda. If we do not approve the agenda, then all our decisions don't count. And the following agenda is proposed, but we'll talk about this in just a minute. And I want to say that the voting button has been activated. So at the 18:15 UTC, the voting button has been activated as per the regulations. And the voting, that's T1, on all the agenda items will last 48 hours as of this minute. So the voting will last 48 hours. That means you can vote anytime between now, that's 18:16 UTC. We always use UTC, which is the same as GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, or Universal Time. You've got 48 hours to vote. And then after that, the vote closes and we share the preliminary results. We will do it a little bit differently today, and that's because we need to make some quick decisions to formalize the situation. But don't worry, I'll explain that in just a minute. If you have not voted before, it's very simple, but if you have a problem, then please email me or simply say, and we will explain how you can vote. But the agenda is a 5-point agenda. I will read it out. The first point is election of the sitting chairperson prior to the election of the chairman of Parliament. That means we need to elect someone to run this session, and then we will tomorrow elect the chair of Parliament for the 5 years. So I am at the moment facilitating. I'm not the chair for the next 5 years at this stage. I am just running the session. Why? Because I'm used to doing it. I've done it before, so it just makes logical sense. There is no other reason. And we need to elect someone to chair this session. It's a procedural point, but it's important. And then tomorrow we have the process of electing the chair of Parliament. We need to elect the Mandate Commission and its chair, and Marcus spoke about that. We need to elect the Counting Commission and its chair. Those are the people who make sure that our election and voting systems work properly. Then we need to elect the chair of Parliament, and we need to appoint the Prime Minister. Let me explain just a little bit on each of those. And we will come back to it in a little bit more detail in a moment. So the first thing we'll be doing quite shortly is to elect someone to run this session. It may seem a bit strange, but we do need to do that. Then the next thing we'll do is elect the Mandate Commission and chair. After that, we'll elect the Accounting Commission and its chair, because we need those two to be in place for this whole session to work. Then we elect the chair of Parliament, which we will discuss tomorrow. And then we will appoint the Prime Minister. Now, it's an appointment, not an election, because Parliament is presented with a candidate and we say yes or no to that candidate. So it's different to the election of chair of Parliament, which comes from the parliamentarians. The appointment of the Prime Minister comes from the Supreme Space Council. So please do vote on the agenda. The final voting results on the agenda will be announced by the Counting Commission, if we elect them, once the 48-hour voting period is over. We usually have a 48-hour voting period for our digital sittings and for our physical sittings as well. So the voting is open and you should be able to vote now. I'm now going between two screens, so I'm going back to the main screen to see if anyone has any questions, and we do. We've got Bridget and then we've got John. Bridget, over to you.
Yes, one quick question. If someone has a new committee that they would like to implement, how would we vote for it or bring it up?
We'll bring it up. I will be doing a presentation in a short while about the committee structure, and we're not changing the committee structure this time round, but we will be able to discuss that in the future. At the moment, we have 12 committees, and I will explain that process a bit later on. Yeah, I know you've got. Go on.
So we won't be able to suggest or bring up adding a 13th committee?
You will be. We will be able to discuss that on day 3, but we won't be able to implement it on day 3. I know what you're thinking about, probably. we don't have a mechanism to introduce a new committee at this stage in this session, but of course everything is possible, and we can return to this at a future stage. So if you can, so I just ask you to be patient so that we can do it. But on this first digital sitting, I didn't want to overcomplicate it. I want to make sure that we get everything in place. We start all the systems up again, because everything is empty about in Parliament at the moment. We don't have a chair of Parliament. We don't have any committee chairs. We don't have any membership of committees. So let's get going with what we've got, and then we can look at other things after that, if that's okay with you.
Not a problem.
Thank you. And I'm not pushing it out of the debate. It's just complicated for us to do this just now, that's all. And John, good afternoon to you.
Good
over to you.
afternoon. Yeah, I got a question. You said we needed someone for today, right? A chair for today. Do
Yeah.
we nominate somebody?
Yes, you get to nominate.
Do we do that now?
Well, you can do, yes. Let me just check that that's where we are. Yeah, that's where we are.
Okay, I nominate Phil Appleby.
All right, okay. Are there any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate you again, Lembit. You've got a lot of experience with it, and you've done it for the past 5 years beautifully, I might add. So not only
I mean, this is just
session,
for today, though.
Well,
right,
hold on.
but I'm not talking about just for today. I'm talking about today and for tomorrow's voting. I'd really love to see Lembit back, because he really keeps us running well.
Yeah, hold on. I'm not sure if Phil's even been asked if he wants to do it yet, but hold on. Let's just see where we are now. We've got Jose. So all right, I've been nominated. Phil's been nominated. By the way, I'm happy to stand. I haven't really asked Phil. Jose, over to you. Jose.
Listen me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Well, I prefer you, and I am very, very, very good to Parliament, and I propose you, of course, independent on how much people propose another. That's okay. That's okay for me. And welcome to everybody, to the new people of the Parliament. We're very proud to see you in this place. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Kashif. Welcome to Parliament, Kashif. If you can unmute yourself, that would be great. Now we go to Sanat. Kashif. Not hearing you at the moment.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Thanks. I'd like to nominate Eridana. Sorry for the pronunciation for the chair.
Okay. So are you talking about Ariadne?
Correct.
Okay. So we've got. Let's go through everybody. Sanat, then Ricky. Sanat, you're next. Sanat.
For the nomination of the chair permanently for this Parliament, are we collecting the name now?
No. What we're doing at the moment is we're choosing somebody to chair these 3 days, and then tomorrow we're choosing. Well, tomorrow there is the process of nomination for the whole of the Parliament.
Okay. For the next 3 days, I also would like to suggest your name or second your name, whatever is the present position. And for the next for the permanent thing, of course, we will decide tomorrow, I suppose. That's when we give the names.
Okay, thank you for that, for your vote of confidence as well. Ricky, over to you. Sorry, I've just muted you. Sorry, you were faster than I was. Extra work for you there.
For these 3 days, I'd like to nominate you. You got the most experience, and for permanent, I'm going to put your name forward because I feel that you should be chair at least one more time because there's still areas that need to be ironed out. And you having the most experience would be more capable of doing that. And that's just my feelings on it. Thank you.
Okay. What we'll need to do. Okay. Does anybody else want to make any other nominations? I'd need to check. At the moment, we have Phil, Appleby, myself, and Ariadne as the nominees. Phil and Ariadne need to say if they're willing to accept the nomination, as well as me, as well, because
I was just going to say, Len, that I completely agree with the majority here. It looks like you've got the job. I know you were looking forward to having at least an hour off, but I think you've got landed with it. Thank you very much for your nomination, John. Very kind of you. And always here if you need a hand, but I know that you're very capable, more than capable than anyone else here. So well done, Lambert.
well, thank you for that. Ariadne, where do you stand on this then? It's a slightly unconventional procedure, I recognize. Ariadne.
Bien, voy a hablar en español. Sí. Me siento muy halagada porque me hayan elegido
Yes,
para.
thank you. I'm not speaking Spanish. I am very thankful for the election to coordinate these jobs. You guys know that I move around Slack and helping everybody that asks me. And sometimes Linda might say, oh my God, this lady. And she is helping me all the time and nobody's asking her. But if you think that I can do it, right? It's perfect on me. Working in any area in Asgardia, from the very humble or any other area, I think the butterflies can make a revolution in every part of the planet. I think Asgardia is safe and Asgardia will be here forever. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just go to Ricky, and then I just need to ask Ariadne a further question. Ricky?
Yeah, there wasn't any English translation on that at all.
There was. I heard it all.
There was.
This end.
You're in the wrong. Did anybody else get the English translation?
I got the English translation.
Yeah, I did too. Ricky, did you put English under the interpretation though?
Yes.
Oh, I heard it.
You can also turn your caption on.
Okay, I think that it did work because I heard it. Nothing personal, Ricky. I think you may have been listening in the wrong way. Yeah. However much you insist, Ricky, you're in a you're in a real minority here.
You're not the chairman yet. You can't talk to him like that.
It's probably just the network that I'm on.
It might be. It might be. If it doesn't work again, then just let me know, or let us know. We'll try and fix it. Let's go to Ada. Ada. Ada, you need to mute yourself. You should be able to hear you now. Ada, I'm still not hearing you. Okay, Ada, you're not audible to me. Do you want to try again, Ada? No, it's not working. We'll come back to you in a minute, Ada. The question I had was, thank you very much for Phil, for your vote of confidence. Ada, did you, sorry, Ariadne, do you want to stand for chair for these 3 days? If so, then we'll have a vote about it, which we'll have to get the result for tomorrow morning. Ariadne?
Yes, I never say no. Claro, yo nunca digo que no a lo que me pidan. Claro, y si
Of
lo
course, I will never say no to anything that's asked of me. If there's a vote in favor, I will for sure do it. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, that's fine then. Thank you. Ada, you have to hurry if you want to speak. It seems to me that we have two candidates then, myself and Ariadne. I'll do tonight anyway because we're in the middle of it and we'll have to get the result of the vote for tomorrow. I'm going to have to ask well, the next thing we're doing is putting the Mandate and Counting Commission in place, and we need them in place to be able to count the votes. So,
Hello.
who's talking? Oh, Ada, we can hear you now. Yeah, go ahead, Ada.
Sorry. I messed it up a little bit. The computer is new because the other one blows up. So I'm gonna I ask you, Lambi, with all the respect, welcome to all the new ones as MP. Do you willing to run again, Lambi? Our first question.
Yes, that's for tomorrow, though. That's the 5-year thing. I'm willing to chair this one, and Ariadne is willing to chair these 3 days. But the other debate is for tomorrow about the 5-year term. What we're deciding now is who runs this 3 days. Tomorrow we decide who runs the next 5 years.
So I got I don't know, well, decide for 3 names I got over here. And one is John Fine. The second, Lemby. I don't know if everybody knows Lemby around here, but it's Lemby. So, and the next one is Ria.
Okay.
Ria. And I also trust in Ariana also.
Well, I'm not sure you can nominate more than one person because you need to nominate just one person. The reason is
Only
because
one?
Yeah, because you can't nominate 4 people because you can only vote for 1. So you need to choose one person to nominate. Otherwise, we would have 4 people. It's not a job share. You need to decide. You can nominate
that's
someone,
true.
but
I could pick everybody, but it's true. But I would add you. Then I will. You the ones more experienced. Then let me.
you're nominating me. Did you say?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. In which case, thank you for that. Vote of confidence. So we've got myself and we've got Ariadne. This vote can really only take place. Well, thank you. Athene wants to give me a few days off. Thank you very much. Lots of people being very chatty here. Jason, you say you're new here. If you watch the chat, you can see interesting progress there. It's very interesting to follow the chat, which is moving very fast. Just to explain the process, there are 2 candidates, unless somebody else puts another candidate. Myself and Ariadne. Phil Appleby very kindly is saying that he would prefer me to do it. That's the technical thing that Philip Appleby said. And we've got myself and Ariadne as the candidates. Now, just for the purpose of keeping it simple, I'll have to chair this evening because we won't get the result of the vote on who chairs the rest of the session till tomorrow. The Counting Commission and the Mandate Committee, they need to be in place before we can hold this vote. So just for practical reasons, I'll do tonight. But then tomorrow we will get the result of whether myself or Ariadne will be running the session. And you will be able to vote. You can vote on that using your button. So let me just be clear for anyone who is confused. What we're deciding at the moment is who will run days 2 and 3. I'll do tonight just because it's too complicated to change halfway through, and we won't be able to have a vote until we have the Counting Commission, Mandate Commission, and the Counting Commission in place. So what you will be able to vote on overnight is if me or if Ariadne will run the rest of the session. And it's a simple decision between the 2 of us. And I would ask then, as we move to the next item, that you do get a counting commission in place and you get a mandate commission in place, or we can't have any of the votes. Let's go to Eren. Eren? Hi, welcome to Parliament.
Hello.
Hoş geldin.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity. First of all, I was the first mayor of Istanbul. Back before, to ones who don't know me, and I am very happy to be here. And secondly, if you want to take a few day vacation, it's okay for me a little bit, but I decided to choose you for this 3-day duration. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much indeed. It's very, very kind of you. I've had 2 days off. I haven't been chair for 2 days, and I suppose that was quite a good holiday. Just one technical point before we go any further. Can you please put your full names in, just because we need to get to know everybody. So to use the example of someone I do know, it says Dan S. But if you can put your whole name in, that would be great. Ross Cheerthright, you've done a great job there building on the path there. It's very good. And Lembitopit, you can see. If you can put your full name, so Teresa, if we can get your surname as well, Teresa J, can be the whole name, that would be great. It's just because we get to know each other better that way. If you've just joined us, by the way, either in Parliament or on Asgardia television, welcome. This is the first sitting of the second session of Asgardia's Parliament. We successfully completed 5 years, and now we're discussing procedural matters over the next 3 days for the next 5 years. And I'm Lembitopik, and I'm a former chair of the Parliament. At this stage, Parliament has not got a chair. We are discussing who will be chairing this 3-day period. I don't see any other raised hands, so I'm going to make the judgment that we can move on now. So there will be a vote between myself and Ariadne, and we will find out the answer in the morning. So whoever wins that vote will be chairing the rest of the 3 days. To have that vote, we have to move on to the next item. If anyone is confused, then please stop me. But on this first point, the decision will be between me and Ariadne. That will be in the voting agenda. That's for these 3 days. And please vote. The final voting results will actually be announced by the Counting Commission once the 48-hour period is over. But we need to have an answer tomorrow morning for obvious reasons, because we need to decide who's going to chair. Now, let me move on to the next procedural item. And as I said again, I'll run tonight because there are four more items really, and then we can make the decision about who chairs the rest of it after that. So item 2, we need to elect a mandate commission to determine the quorum and the legitimacy of this sitting. Now, the mandate commission therefore makes sure that we do things correctly, that we have enough people here. That's 50% of Parliament plus 1. That would be 76 from the 150. And then the legitimacy of the sitting is to make sure that we followed all the right procedures in terms of the votes and so on. I will talk with you about verification, which will take place mainly on Sunday, but don't worry about that. It's something called verification. You need to prove who you are. Not tonight, because we're too busy tonight, and not tomorrow because we have other things until after the end of the session. But after the end of the session tomorrow on day 3, we'll be verifying your identity. Very simple. I'll explain how we do that later on. So what we do need is to have a mandate commission. Now, I'd recommend re-electing Marcus Gronbach as chair of the mandate commission. You've heard him already. He's performed, in my view, well over the last 5 years. He's not my nominee. It's not for me to nominate him, but I would propose him because he's in position now, and there's no reason to change a successful formula for a successful individual. I would also propose the following members of the Mandate Commission. Obviously, Marcus as chair, Matthew Farmer, Christina Dowman. They've been involved in the activities of Asgardia and supported the work of the first Parliament all the way through. You are able to vote. The final voting results will be announced by the Counting Commission once the 48-hour voting period is over. But I would ask, just in terms of a show of hands now, this is a practical solution. You can have a permanent solution in the voting, normal voting, but just so that we have an indication, I'm hoping that I can ask people to vote by raising their hands. Those who support the reappointment of the existing Mandate Commission, could you just raise your hands now? We'll need to keep them up because we need to count them. So if you agree that we can continue with the same people, Ross, you can just use your pretend hand instead of your real one, but that's okay. You don't get 2 votes by doing that, Ross.
Marcus deserves a real hand.
Okay, well, that's very, very good. Very good.
Thank you very much.
That was his speech. That was his speech. We need to count them. So we're going to go. I'm going to count. Go to the next page. I will obviously vote as well. 40. Okay. Is anybody against? This is an indicative vote so that they can work. Okay, if you lower your hands, please. I won't be able to do that myself. Right. Is anyone voting against that? You can do it. It's democracy, but please vote now against. I won't ask for abstentions. It's just going to be the remainder. Okay, that's carried by an overwhelming majority. I think it was 43. We can check that in the recording. People still lowering their hands, sorry. And I need to lower mine as well, of course. Okay, that is carried. It's a technical thing. If you're confused, don't worry. We need to have a Mandate Commission. Otherwise, we can't count the votes, basically. So it seems to me that you'll also have the chance to formalize that vote in the normal voting procedure, which is when you vote with pressing a button. But it seems to me that the Mandate Commission has been voted with no objections and majority saying yes. So Mandate Commission, do please commence your work, and thank you, Marcus, for everything you've done for more than 5 years, actually. And also thank you for starting this session. We use the same procedure for the next one. These are technical procedures. They may seem a bit strange, but we do need to do this. So agenda item 3 is we need to elect a counting commission to count the votes so that we know what has actually happened. And you've heard the name already, Saltanat Metova, who's chairperson of the counting commission. She's performed really well and been working with us for a long time. I've been returning officer in that time in the by-election. It was very easy to work with Saltanat. So I propose her as chair, and then the other members, Rebecca Berg, who former members will know, has been active in the media side. Jacqueline Palmer, also. They've been involved in the activities of Asgardia, and that they've been working throughout the first Parliament. So I would ask you to vote in the formal way, in the 48-hour way, but also if we can have an indicative vote again, because we need to have that in place. It's a pragmatic solution to have an indicative vote so that they can actually count the votes. So please raise your hand now if you're satisfied with the continuation of the same group. Raise your hand now if you're happy for us to have the same counting commission as we did before. So please raise your hands now. We'll count them in just a minute. As I say, these are procedural. It really gives people an opportunity to object if they have a particular reason to do so. I don't think we've had any problems actually in the time, in all of the 5 years. 10, 15, 20, 25. I am being the counting commission at the moment. Okay, okay, that's 46. If you lower your hands, please, if you lower everybody's hands, and we'll just see if there are anyone against it. Okay. Okay, so a few people still left there. And if I can now ask for anybody who objects to please raise their hand now. Okay, so the counting commission has also been reappointed by us. That was a reappointment, not an election. And to formalize that, we will have the normal voting process for the end till the end of the 48-hour session. But it means that we have a counting commission and a mandate commission. So counting commission, please do commence your work. And one of the things you'll need to check is getting a vote between to decide if myself or Ariadne will be chairing the rest of this session after tonight. Thank you. That's really good. Really good that we've got that work done. Let me just ask, we've got 4 hands up at the moment, and one of them is mine, right? 3 hands. Are they up from the vote, Sanat Tabahatim? Okay. And Al-Hussein, or did you want to speak? If you want to speak, then I can get you to speak now. Okay. Al-Hussein, if you want to speak, then can you unmute yourself, and then we can go from there. Okay, now, Al-Hussein, did you want to speak? Mohammed, sorry, Al-Hussein. If not, then if your hand's up for, okay, I'll make it easy. Just
Hello.
raise your, hi, go ahead.
First of all, I'm glad to be here at the second Parliament of Asgardia. Second, I'm just asking about where we will be elect the other committees, like the science committee and the other committees. Thanks.
Thank you, Mohammed. That's exactly the right time to ask it, because I'm going to do a presentation on this just now. Linda, I hope you got the second version of the presentation. I had a problem with the background, so it's a colored but plain background. In a moment, I'll ask you either Aliona or Linda to screen share. I will answer that question for you. It's the right question. Just before we do that, let me tell you where we are in the agenda. We'll have, I'm chairing till the end of today, but tomorrow morning we will decide, we'll find out if myself or Ariadne is going to chair the rest of the session. We have reappointed the Mandate Commission, and we've reappointed the Counting Commission, and also their 2 chairs. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the election of the Chairman of Parliament for the 5 years. And then we're also going to talk about the appointment of the Prime Minister. I'll just go to Sergey. Sergey, go ahead. And then, yes, Sergey. Sergey, can't hear you yet. Maybe your hand was up by accident. If not, then raise your hand again. Let's go to Ross then. Ross, I'm sure your hand's on purpose.
Hello. I just had a question about the voting for the interim chair of Parliament. Where will voting for that take place? Will a new poll be created on the website?
I need to check that. Yes, because obviously it was impossible to set that up until we knew who was
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
The truth, Ross, is that this is the first time we've ever had a second Parliament. So some of this is quite pragmatic. Some of it is setting some new protocols. We did not have a counting commission or a mandate commission till 5 minutes ago, so they have to now answer that question. So what I will ask, I've sent a message to them. I will ask that they put some kind of a vote into the. We could either do it now, and I'll see if they're guided by that before we finish. Then we might just do a show of hands like we've just done. That might be enough for today.
With 2 people, we could also do a propositional vote. So vote yes for Lambert, vote no for Ariadne, or
Well, we could do that as well. Yes, we could. Well, yes, you could do that as well. Let me be guided by the people you've just elected, appointed for that. So I will be able to give you an answer. I think that's a good idea, by the way. So basically, I'm just going to. I will ask. Just to explain, while these things are happening, I'm in communication in 3 different ways with the team. And so one of the things is the point that you've just made. And I think we probably will have a show of hands tonight, actually, just to get this resolved. As I say, I don't want to do the work of the people we've just appointed. That's why I was hesitant. I wasn't suggesting a process at the time. I didn't want to be accused of trying to create a system which is favourable to me or indeed against me. I'll have an answer to that.
Saltanat to count the hands this time. Yeah, it'll be fine.
That's basically, yes, that's right, actually. That's what we can do. Yes, I had no vested interest. But then, of course, you could say because I'm recommending Saltanat, she already has some vested interest, but I'm sure that people can see that's probably not the case. I'm going to suggest then that at the end of the presentation I'm doing on committees, then I'll have an answer for the question that you've asked there, Ross. It looks like we're likely to have a show of hands before we finish tonight. That's probably the most practical thing to do, not least because we're here, and sometimes you just got to trust things such as this in a practical decision like this in a practical way. So that's a great question, and I will have an answer for that shortly. If I get an answer during the presentation, I might break off to stop and have that vote just so that we've got it done. All right, so in terms of the agenda, we move on to the final thing for this evening, and that's about the committees. And the committees, let me just see, I'm just checking. Yeah, yeah, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about committees. I'm hoping, Linda, you got the second version of the presentation. There was some issue, I've had it before with the background, so if you can use the darker one, or if Aliona, one of you, if you can screen share. I don't like to screen share because it can cause trouble when I'm also chairing the session. But if you have any trouble, then I can screen share now. So if the screen does not go to my present, here it comes. Yeah, there was another one with actually the background, but we can use this one. If you've got the darker one, the one with the dark background, we could maybe use that one instead. Just let Linda just do this for a moment, and then yeah, it's the second one I sent you. It's the same content, but it's a bit closer to the backdrop. I had a problem with the backdrop this evening. Just before we go any further, does anyone have any process questions? Is anyone confused about where we are? And I've actually just got an answer that we should do a show of hands. Okay, just before we go into the committee presentation, let me take an indicative show of hands. I cannot count because I'm one of the candidates. Oh, okay. Just Linda, what we'll do is we'll just have a quick show of hands on the. They're telling me to wait. Okay, let's do the presentation on committees, and then we'll do a show of hands on who chairs the rest of this. Just before you do, Sabaha team, go ahead. Can you, Sabaha team? You have to unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
Merhabalar, ben
Hello.
oylama için el kaldırmıştım.
I was raising my hand to vote.
Oh,
but
right. Okay.
Since you gave me the opportunity, I would like to say good evening to everyone. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sabaha team. I'm just going to need somebody else to count the vote. Marcus, maybe I can ask you to be just to count the vote, and well, basically to get to expose the truth about how people are going to what people want. So, Linda, I'm just going to remove this. I'm going to remove the sharing for a minute. Right. What we're going to do now is I'm going to hand to Marcus if he's here, and Marcus can basically let's see if is he here. We can't see. if he's actually with us at the moment. He might actually be already working on the other matters. In which case, let me see. Perhaps what we could do is a man who. Oh yes, Marcus is here. I'm going to ask if Marcus is willing to count the votes in favour and against. So if Marcus is able to unmute and just hold to this 2-minute vote, then that would be good. If he's already working on something else, then let's ask Phil Appleby to do it, who would be another person who could do it. He will have a vote, of course, but it's better than me doing it myself. I think Marcus is already busy, so he might not be able to join us. So, okay, Phil, are you willing?
He's in the call now, just so you know.
I can see he's there, but he might. Oh, Marcus, yeah. Marcus, can you just handle the vote of myself or Ariadne to chair the rest of the event? That's the advice I've been given. A show of hands.
I couldn't. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you repeat what you said? It was like.
Okay. We need to decide. The advice has been, to save time, that we have a show of hands about whether I chair the session or if Ariadne chairs the session, and it might just be quicker to do it now. So I can't really count the votes because I'm one of the two candidates. I'm just asking if you can count the votes. I can call the numbers, but I can call the names, but I can't count the votes officially. So if I could, yeah. All right. So those people who want to vote for Lembit Opik to chair this session, please raise your hands. Okay. That's gonna. And okay.
35, 36, 7.
Repeat that question.
Yeah, if you want me to chair, if you want Lembit Opik to chair this session, then please raise your hands now. That's for today, tomorrow, and Sunday.
I think it's because of the line, because I couldn't hear you for a few seconds as well. So.
Okay, I'll say it again. If you want Lembit Opik to chair this 3-day session, then please raise your hands now. And only AMPs have the vote. Only Asgardia members of Parliament have the vote.
Okay, I'm counting 47.
Okay. Anybody else wish to vote now before I ask everyone to lower their hands? Okay.
48.
I'm going to stop the vote there. Thank you. Please lower all your hands. You don't have to vote if you're not sure, of course. You can abstain, that's fine. Only AMPs, only Asgardia members of Parliament have the vote. So I'll wait till everybody needs to lower their hands now, including me.
Note to yourself.
Yeah, note to self.
He's not that.
Okay. You have to remain impartial. Marcus knows too much about me.
It's the strategic pause that got me.
Yeah, Marcus is a man with great influence over me because of what he knows.
I would say that, okay, all hands are down. I would blame it on the line.
Thank you. So those in favour of Ariadne chairing the rest of this session, please raise your hands now. So raise your hands if you wish Ariadne Gallardo to chair the session. Or you can abstain, of course, as well. It's not mandatory. Okay, I'll just give it another moment or two. Okay. Right, last call for votes. Please, if you wish to vote for Ariadne Gallardo to chair the rest of the session, please raise your hands now. Just while we're waiting for new members, our parliamentary votes are all recorded publicly. So what we're doing now is the same as what we do on the official system. So we have a recorded vote, it's called. So you can look back and see who voted for what. It's a very open system of democracy we have. Okay,
So
go ahead,
maybe due
Marcus.
to the line, one more call for Ariadne.
Yeah. Any more votes for Ariadne to chair these 3 days? That's not for the 5 years, it's for these 3 days. Please raise your hand now. You can abstain or you can raise your hand now. I won't be asking for abstentions. It's between me and Ariadne. Somebody has to chair it.
Okay, counting 4.
Okay. Okay. So over to you, Marcus, for the adjudication then.
So, well,
it's for the record. It's just for the record. So
48 votes for Lembed Opek and 4 votes for Ariadne. And here I have to check for your surname. Sorry,
Gallardo.
Gallardo. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Lembed, congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you. I'd like to thank Ariadne for being a great competitor, and you better carry on working with me after that. So thank you, Ariadne. You're always here for Asgardia, and we'll make sure you keep you very busy in the years in the days ahead. This is only about today. Thank you for that, Ross. Do you want to say something before we carry on, Ross?
Yes, so I just wanted to say now that that motion has been voted on the polling system, should we just vote yes now just to confirm that, or what do you want us to do with poll number 2?
I don't know, because Marcus, the advice for me was that we make the decision now because it just saves time, and we've done that. I think the best thing to do is to see what County Commission, and it's a pragmatic question. Let's see what the County Commission and the Mandate Commission want to recommend. It's a kind of a common sense question, really, because we have actually made a decision, and it's unlikely to change. But
exactly,
I shall leave it for them to decide. So, can I suggest, if the Counting Commission and the Mandate Commission feel it's the best thing to put that as one of the voting items, then it will appear with my name and Ariadne's name there. It will be a retrospective because we already have a record.
Very well, I'll leave that one for now. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. But indicatively, we have a result there. In a sense, that's what we will have tomorrow morning with Counting and the Mandate Commission as well, because actually they're on the agenda, but we have to make a decision quickly, precisely for the reason that you have just seen. Thanks, Ross. You actually cleared something up there. That was very useful. Right, Linda, thanks for your patience. Can you put the presentation on? Now, this will answer the question that Mr. Al-Hussein raised, and a lot more besides. There's a final item today. It's not a voting item. I'm going to introduce you to the committee structure, and hopefully this will actually answer the question that was asked earlier on. So if you could screen share now. I do apologize. It does not have the backdrop. This doesn't matter to, maybe for new people, it doesn't matter too much, but there's a backdrop which I have always had trouble with on my computer, and it's my fault that we're not using it. I take the blame for this. It's just for those people who are expecting a slightly different backdrop, but the content is fine. The purpose of this is a quick introduction by me to the first sitting of the second session of Parliament for committees. And at the end of this, we won't take questions. We will do this on Sunday, but it's so that you have an idea about what happens in these 3 days. And what we're doing here is having an overview of, an overview of where committees came from, what they are, and how you get on them. This is from the Act on Act. It's one of the first pieces of legislation we ever did, and that was exactly 5 years ago. Exactly 5 years ago, and actually I was chairing on that day as well, and it was one of the most interesting political debates I've ever seen. It says that there will be 12 permanent committees of Parliament. I shall read their names, but we will look at each of them individually. Information and Communications, Citizenship, Foreign Affairs, Justice, Trade and Commerce, Science, Youth and Education, Culture, Safety and Security, Finance, and Equity and Resources. Each committee of Parliament will have up to 25 members of Parliament. They can have fewer, but not more. Each will elect a chairman, and each member of Parliament can be elected to up to 2 committees. You can be on 0, 1, or 2. The expectation is that you are on at least 1, but you can be on a maximum of 2. Let's have a quick look at each of these committees. Right, science. Science ensures government policy is based on good scientific and engineering advice and evidence. The Science Committee is really central to us because it makes it clear where we are heading, which is space, what we need to do to get there, and how we can mutually, collectively contribute to achieve that. It's a fascinating committee, and it has been working on Asgardia 2, the next satellite to go into space. If you have an interest in the science of space, and that includes biology, the first child born in space, this could be a great committee for you to be on. Let's go to the next one. Finance. Now, finance considers expenditure and has a particular responsibility for preparation and detailed study of Asgardia's budget. The importance of finance is really huge because we both need to make money and we have to spend money. And basically, on that item, on that point, we have to be clear that there is a real opportunity for us to become wealthy as individuals, as well as a country, as well as a nation. And I think that's very important as well. On the third committee here, citizenship, which in fact Ariadne Gallard has been the chair of, that ensures the government policy is based over the government policy on which is based overseas expenditure. There's a typographical error there. Administration and policy of Ministry of Citizenship and associated public bodies. In other words, the Citizenship Committee works with the Citizenship Ministry to make sure that everything there is done effectively and is done with proper accountability. All of the committees you can see have that responsibility. Let's go to the next committee. For Equity and Resources, that examines expenditure, administration and application of the resources of Asgardia and associated public bodies. Equity and resources is very important because we need to have equity, we need to have resources in order to do our job. And it's not just that, but if we have a particular opportunity to make money and build the value of our nation, the Equity and Resources Committee and the Ministry are centrally involved in that. Let's go to the next item, manufacturing. That actually adds the effective administration, expenditure and policy of the Ministry of Manufacturing and its associated public bodies. The former chair of that, Fernando, he was very keen on us creating a really dynamic manufacturing base. You have to build things to get into space. Maybe we don't have to build them ourselves, of course, but basically we have to make sure that somebody is making them. And as a result of that, it's very important that we are results focused. And if you are interested in manufacturing, if you have manufacturing experience, then that's one of the very important elements in terms of the process of making sure that we work with the right people to build our products, or we build them ourselves. There is, of course, a financial benefit to Asgardia to having a powerful and effective manufacturing base. Ricky's just made a point there, which is good. Equity in this committee means money on hand. Sorry, thanks. That's a very good clarification, Ricky. Thanks for that. With Foreign Affairs Committee's remit is to examine the expenditure, administration and policy of the Foreign Office, other bodies associated with the Foreign Office as well. This has a huge responsibility to work with the foreign minister, who hopefully will be appointed soon, in order to get recognition on Earth from terrestrial nations for Asgardia. Why does that matter? Because when we get that terrestrial recognition, it clarifies our relationship with Earth-based nations. Asgardia has no territory on Earth. We do not involve ourselves in Earth politics, even sometimes when that is difficult, because we have personal or historical reasons for being interested in the wars and the conflict of Earth. Asgardia has a tradition of not commenting on those because it's not our territory. The Foreign Affairs Committee and the Foreign Affairs Ministry has a very central role in all of this. Just if we go to the next slide, but I just want to make one request clear as well. If you're voting, so if you go to the next slide, but just before I talk about culture, just a process point. At the end of this section, the Counting and Mandate Commission will be able to confirm that we have validity for the indicative votes we've had before. So if you look at the voting, the formal voting document, then do please vote if you can before we finish what I'm doing at the moment. It's once again to try to maximize the legitimacy of what we've done today, to make sure that everything we've done is transparent and democratic. So please do vote in the official way, not just the show of hands. We had to do the show of hands because we were suddenly faced with a quick election, quick election. Let's get back to the slide. Culture participates in the policy administration and expenditure of the Ministry of Culture and associated body. Now, the Prime Minister, who was Leila de Winner for the last few years, has always thought this is a really very important ministry, and I agree it's a very important committee. The culture of Asgardia includes the culture of our Parliament, and we've learned something. We've learned a lot about how to be a digital democracy. No one's ever done this before, and I think we're doing very well. So in that sense, if we are in a cultural environment that is different to the Earth, it's because we've made it that way. Personally, I think the cultural space is a fascinating one, and what we are doing today will affect the human race for hundreds or even thousands of years. If you're interested in culture, which is language, which is habits, which is greetings, which is the etiquette of relationships, all of that, that's all culture. And it's a committee which has become more and more important down the years. And in fact, we've had a Minister of Culture who's been quite inspirational, I think, in helping to define some of those parameters. Let's move on. Information and communications. It elaborates, coordinates, and disseminates the information policy of the government, as well as the coverage of its activities around the world and in space. And it provides information and communication technology, ITC, access to all citizens. And it protects the use of information and accuracy of its content. This is a big one for a digital democracy. Because we're digital, we have to have absolutely watertight systems, and we'll come to safety and security in a minute. With information and communication, that's how we share the good news of Asgardia with the wider population here on Earth. And also, when we live off Earth, the only way we can communicate on a regular basis is through digital means. And that's why information communication is the lifeblood, the collective culture of Asgardia. And it's a very interesting committee for that reason. And it's really done some dramatic things, which I won't go into now, over the last few years. Next slide, please. Trade and commerce is one which our friend John Fine has been, who you heard earlier on, has been leading. It contributes to the process of expenditure, administration, and policy of the Ministry of Trade and Commerce and associated public bodies. It does exactly what it says. It deals with trade and commerce, and one of the most sophisticated pieces of legislation that has come out of Asgardia, and one of my favorite pieces actually, is the Asgardia Companies and Enterprise Act, the ACE Act, and that comes directly from the excellent work of John Fine and his team. If you like trade and commerce, that's the place to go. Next one, please. Justice, it does what it says in the name. It ensures effective operation of the expenditure, administration and policy of the Ministry of Justice, but it goes beyond that. The Justice Committee also works closely with me and all the committees to make sure that legislation we put forward is valid and it's consistent with other legislation and that it's just. In other words, there's a moral consideration there to make sure that we're doing things right. Let's go to the next one. Youth and Education. This monitors the policy, administration, and spending of the Ministry of Youth and Justice, Youth and Education, sorry, not Justice, that's an error, and their associated bodies. Youth and Education is about investing in the future of Asgardia. We want the first baby to be born in space and whole families to live whole lives in space. We need to educate those people and we need to have policies to make sure the youth get the opportunities they need. I've always believed that we should be giving youth not a handout, but a hand up. And what they do, we can not even imagine as long as we give them the space and the education to do it. If you're interested in educational matters and if you're interested in youth policy, that's the place to go. Next slide, please. And we have safety and security. That helps safeguard the integrity of Asgardia's communication, trade and commerce system. Anyone who has ever had a virus on their computer will know the problems facing our society. And that is one of the key considerations as we make ourselves watertight. Everybody who's heard of blockchain knows that the whole blockchain system is heavily loaded in favor of safety. It's one of the central elements of the whole thing. And what I've seen from others before, colleagues here and ministers as well, convinces me that we have the right people and we have the right ideas. You may have some new ideas and you may have some great ideas that have been used on Earth that we have to use in our society too. So safety and security is a dynamic, lively committee. Let's move on to the next slide. This is the actual structure of Asgardia, just that you know. There are three sections, and I'll explain using this one how the committees and the ministers work and the administration work. The head of nation is at the top. Then we have administration to the head of nation. We have on the left, and that's the executive branch, prime minister, and the ministers. And there are 12 ministers, as there are 12 committees. I'll just go to the right next. We have the Supreme Space Council. We have the judicial branch, the Supreme Justice, and they operate independently. We will talk about the Supreme Justice a little bit tomorrow, not today. In the middle, that's the part you're in, legislative branch. Now, this is not appointed by the head of nation. It's elected. That's what's just happened. You are one of 150 people who've been elected. Tomorrow, we will elect chairperson of parliament, and the members of parliament, and only the members of parliament, decide that. We'll also have continental representatives, subcontinental, country, regional, city representatives. Then we have residents, and we have Asgardians. In a way, it's a pyramid, and that's what we populate. Now, the way this works, and I won't go into great detail today, we'll talk more about this on Sunday, is that the committees communicate with the ministries. So if you're in the finance committee and you're the chair of the finance committee, you'll speak to the finance minister. And that's an open, continuous dialogue. You might need to speak to trade and commerce. Well, then the protocol is for the chair of trade and commerce to speak with me. I'll speak with the prime minister, and then we open up that channel. Why do we do it that way? We do it that way to make sure that we have a managed and strategically logical interaction between the committees and the ministries, so that everything is transparent and we can see what's going on. We could do it a different way. We could just leave it completely open. That's a reasonable way of doing things. But at the moment, we find that the discipline of what we're doing means that we have necessary communications and we don't have unnecessary communications. And that's why we have it in this structured way. I'm sure this will evolve further. It will get better. But it's not a bad process. And we've had a stable government-parliament relationship. And remember again that it's Parliament that appoints the Prime Minister and the ministers. So there's a clear accountability there as well. Under normal circumstances and usual sittings, we have government hour, which is not really an hour. It's called the government hour, but it's usually longer. Prime Minister is always there, and different ministers will make their different presentations as well. So that's the way that the relationship works. Let's talk about, next slide, let's talk about what these committees do. Now, we'll talk about the actual content for each committee in the Sunday session. But let me just read you this. There are a lot of words here, but I'll just read them. I don't normally do this, but I will on this occasion, because this gives you an idea that there is a process which prioritizes and focuses work, so that we don't try to do everything. We just try to do the important things. Sebastian, I can see your hands up. I'll just finish this and I'll take your question. Mainly, I'd like to have this debate on Sunday, but I'll get your question in a minute, Sebastian, when we finish. In pursuant of its strategic goals of the birth of the first human child in space, mutual recognition with the nations of planet Earth, and establishing an independent economy, Asgardia operates in the following 12 areas, which are represented in Parliament through the relevant committees, government, through ministries, and the head of nation's administration, senior advisors to the head of nation. The Parliament is governed by the Asgardian Constitution and the Act of Acts. The government is governed by the Asgardian Constitution and the Asgardia Government Act. The activities of the administration are defined by the Asgardian Constitution and the regulations for the administration. Finally, this is a bit technical. The respective areas of work of the parliamentary committees and ministries are defined in the Asgardian Constitution, Chapter 8, Administration, Article 33, Item 12, and Article 34, Item 3. If you're really interested in the history of the committees, we now have history. In the last half decade, we've created a lot of history. Then that's where you can find it. I can summarize what you see there in a very simple way. The committees and the ministries work together, and there's an administration for every committee and ministry. So really there are 40 individuals at the center of our political system: the head of nation, the prime minister, the chair of parliament, and head of administration. And then we have 12 committee chairs, we have 12 ministers, we have 12 heads of administration for each committee, for each area. Very logical, and that works well. We will talk more about this on Sunday, so don't worry if this is in some way confusing, but hopefully you can feel there's a symmetry to it. It's designed to be straightforward and logical. Let's go to the next slide. Now, I think as Mohammed was asking, how do you join committees? And this is the final part of the next 4 slides are the final part of my presentation, and we'll go to Sabahat if I haven't answered the question. This is a directive which I established as Chair of Parliament regarding procedure for changing, selecting or leaving committees. To join a committee, you send a formal request to the chair of the committee, and we will elect the chairs soon. Not today, though. The chair approves or declines the request. Then the chair of Parliament approves or declines that request as well. I have to approve or decline it. And then parliamentary coordinator writes official letter and announces it in Slack. We use Slack quite a lot. So if you want to be on a committee, you make a formal request. Now, this first time it's different because we don't have chairs of committees. So this time, and I'll explain it all on Sunday, you can apply without asking any chair. You can choose up to 2 committees and you can join them. But once they're all established and the committee chairs have been elected, this is how you do it. Let's go to the next slide, please. To change a committee, this is less important now because we're just setting them up, and this does not apply to anyone because no one's on any committee at the moment. It's all empty, everything's vacant. But to change a committee, send a formal request to the chair of the current committee that you're on and to the one that you want to be on. The chairs of committees, they talk about it. They copy the parliamentary coordinator who then talks with me, and then a decision is made. And then you're informed through the parliamentary coordinator. Sometimes committees are oversubscribed, or there are other reasons why it might not be the best idea. But the process is quick, and it's simple, and it's not bureaucratic. This does not apply to anyone. Let me stress, everyone has a new go at choosing any committee or 2 committees that they want. Next slide. To select a second committee, the members should do exactly the same as for the first committee, so I won't repeat all of this. But for the first and second committees, it's the same. You send a formal notification of intention to join the second committee. And actually, for now, you will send these to me. And I'll talk about these on Sunday. So the first and second committees, you make a formal request. We might be able to do it quite quickly, actually, on Sunday. And I'm just talking about the quickest way we can do this on Sunday. But that's how you do that. And then the last one, which is not relevant for now, but I'll just show it to you anyway. Next slide, please. To leave a committee, you have this formal process as well, but we won't go into this. But we do archive who's been on what committee so that those people who follow on will be able to look back in the early days of Asgardia and see who maybe 2,000 years in the past were at the beginning of humanity's journey into a society in space, not just space itself. I think that's the last slide. Is that the last slide? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Right. Now, Sabahat team, you had your hand up before. Thank you, Linda. Sabahat team, you had your hand up before. Have we covered the point that that you wanted? Okay. Just raise your hand again if there is something. Let's go to Keobi. Hope that's right. Is that right?
Yes, that's all right. Kobe.
Well, Kobe. Sorry, so I've been too literal. Welcome to Parliament. Congratulations.
Thank you for having me. Is that PowerPoint available for us to review again?
Yep. We'll have it. I will share it on the proper template. I know it's a small detail, but I want to put it on the proper template. Just to be honest, and this is a very honest confession. My computer always takes the background away again. I don't know why it does it. It just does. So we may be able to get into space, but you'll have blank PowerPoints with me if I don't get that fixed. So as soon as so I apologize to anyone who wanted a nicer looking PowerPoint. The one that we'll share, same content, it'll just look a little bit better. So I definitely agree. And if I haven't fixed it by Sunday, then remind me again, because I'm very busy during these sessions. And basically, I promise you that it'll be really good looking by the time you get it. Which basically means that somebody you will get to know very well. Our parliamentary coordinator, Linda Luce, will perform some magic to make it work, because her computer does not remove the backgrounds. And there's somebody else here who will be watching, who insists I have to put the backgrounds, and I will say to that person, I really tried. I promise you, I really tried. You know who you are. That person will call me later on and tell me off for not having the background, but you'll get at that. Everything we're doing here is being broadcast all over the world, and so we don't need to keep anything secret. I would love 8 billion people to see it, Kobe, and if that happens, I'll send you a postcard saying thank you. Yes. If you can do that for us.
Looking forward to that postcard.
Thank you. Any other questions about that? Or we're going to go to, just so I can serve notice to Marcus again. We're just going to confirm if there's any further change or confirmation of, really, if there's any change in the votes that we had indicatively before. Okay, let me summarize simply what we've done there. You have 12 committees. You can be on 2 of them. I'll come to you in a second, Ada. 12 committees, you can be on 2 of them. You really should be on at least 1. If you're not on 1, the chair of Parliament would normally call you and say, maybe it would be better if you're on at least 1 committee. You can change, there's a process. You can leave, there's a process. But the main thing is choose things that you're interested in and make a practical difference. And remember, what we're doing here isn't a game. This is about the future of the human race. And we've had 1 satellite in space already. Luca Valva, who's been the chair of the Times Committee, has been working hard on the next one. Make this happen. He's here with us today. Make this happen by being part of the action team. Ada.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. I just asked a question there is some changing in this document from the old one?
No, it's similar. It's a little bit cleaner. We've tidied it up a bit. I've also reduced it in terms of words just for the sake of the PowerPoint, but the original full wording, the longer wording still applies, and the directive which I did as Chair of Parliament still applies. So I've made it a bit shorter just for the PowerPoint, but the original documents are still correct. What actually happened? Sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, what actually happened was back in 2018, when we were in Vienna, I set up the original system, and it was really designed in a very simple way. Then we made it a bit more formal 2 years later, before the by-election, and now it has not changed since then. Because there is no chair, there are no chairs, and all the committees are empty. We do it the 2018 way, which is that you will be able to, even on Sunday, give an indication of which committees you're on. I just want to make sure I get the procedure for that correct with some of the work we're doing over the weekend. But it's an informal process in the sense that you don't have to feel uncomfortable. You can phone me up or you can speak to people. On Sunday, we'll be talking in more detail about what the committees are doing. So we're not going into detail today, which was why I don't want to get into a dialogue about the content of the committees and their operation till then. But Ada, it's pretty much what we did after the by-election.
No, it's okay because I don't see I don't see it bad. It don't sounds bad. It's okay. Only I see a little bit movement, but it's good as well the old one. But I just want to ask the question because I remember that to make changes, you gotta pass through the parliaments and from you, and that's what I asked him. So
Well,
thank you for explaining.
No problem. It's a system that you already know.
Yeah.
Joshua Carter asks, Gennady Gusev asks, is there a limit on the number of committee members? Yes. And Benedetto and also I think Joshua correctly says 25. Why? Because if we have 130 people on one committee and nobody on the other, or one each on the other ones, or two each on the other ones, it just doesn't work. We need to have some balance. We have never actually had to stop people from being on a committee. It could happen this time, of course. So it seems 25 is bigger, is a high enough number not to cause problems. But we need to work together. There are 150 of us trying to get children born in space and families to live in space all their lives. So we have to split the work, split the focus. That's with any team. And actually, we're not a very big team when you think about the size of our mission. NASA had hundreds of thousands of people to get the late Neil Armstrong to the moon. We've got 150 people that get a whole society into space. Any other questions? I'm going to once again go to Marcus just to see if he can confirm that it's really on a pragmatic basis again that what we've done so far, namely have an indicative vote to elect me for the 3 days, that the Mandate Commission and the County Commission all affirmed, just to get from him, for the record really, confirmation that those are the provisional, that provisionally that has all been agreed. But before I go to Marcus one last time, is there anybody else with any questions for today? Okay, let me go back to Marcus one last time. Marcus, the question I am asking you is, I'm just checking that Marcus is still here. The problem is Marcus gets very busy because he's actually doing his job on the County Commission quickly at the same time as we're doing our work here. It might be that, yeah, I'm not sure if I can see him, but getting a message here. I think I've got a message. Okay. Yep. It seems to me I can. It seems to me. Yep. Okay. The preliminary voting results and the agenda and the first 3 items are as follows. The agenda is provisionally approved. Thank you for that information, Marcus. The agenda is provisionally approved, so we are in business for these 3 days. On agenda item 1, I'm provisionally elected to preside over the sitting. This 3 days. That's not for the 5 years. That happens. We talk about that tomorrow. On agenda item 2, the Mandate Commission, comprising Marcus Grombach as chair, Matthew Farmer, Christina Dowman as members, is approved. And on agenda item 3, the Accounting Commission, comprising Saltanat Metova as chair, Rebecca Berg, Jacqueline Palmer as members are approved as well. Thank you for that information, for that confirmation. That is very helpful. So that is the formal response that I've got from the people who we have just provisionally appointed, including myself, actually. Now, the final voting results on all of the agenda items will be available just after the sitting, but I will make an announcement as the acting chair, as the facilitator, at around, well, at the end of day 3, at least 48 hours after the beginning. So it'll be from after 18:15 UTC on Sunday. So we have done quite a lot today already, new and experienced parliamentarians. But in order for the Mandate Commission and the Accounting Commission to be ready for tomorrow's sitting, though, they need time to check the quorum and count the online voting results. Now, for the quorum, please remember that we need at least 50% plus 1 AMPs. We currently have 77, so we are technically quorum, but it has to be counted in the voting. So please vote on the agenda. We actually tend to use the agenda as a quorum count. Tomorrow tomorrow we'll have another indication in the morning of how it's going, but we have to be quorum. Otherwise, none of our decisions actually are valid. So please do vote on the agenda, and that counts as a quorum count. Before I close for tonight, so that the Accounting Commission and the Mandate Commission can get on with their work, because that's really they've got a lot to do between now and tomorrow. Are there any other questions or comments from colleagues? Okay, I've spoken more than I usually do, but then it's been more procedural than usual. I normally talk a lot less than this. So God is laughing, but it's true. When I was in Istanbul recently, I wasn't talking that much, wasn't I? Okay, don't answer that question further. I traveled a long way to be with you. Dan Shoemaker, good day to you.
Hey, how's it going,
Thanks for putting your name in full. It's good to see it all there.
One question though, because of the presentation, to get on the committees, we're supposed to send an email to Linda or to you, or not to you, but to Linda to get on the committee.
Yeah, sending it to me is the same as sending it to Linda, because we pool our resources. Sometimes people have questions, and that's why you can send it to me. You might say, I want to be on the science committee, but what does that mean? So if you've got particular questions about how to do it, then contact me. Otherwise, the best thing to do would be contact Linda. You can do it now if you want. There's nothing to stop you, but especially for new and maybe experienced members already have a view about where they want to be. But we'll have a good discussion on Sunday, a detailed discussion, Q&A. People on the committees will be encouraged to talk about each one, and we'll go into more depth. Yes, Dan?
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Dan's question is a good one, colleagues, because no one is under any pressure to pretend you know something you don't. No one's going to be tricked into doing something you don't want to do. And most importantly, Asgardia wants you to be happy in the work that you do in Asgardia. And it should be empowering for you as well. So what really matters here is that you feel a sense of fulfillment, basically. And it's not always easy. Sometimes we argue, but no one gets cancelled for their points of view. And it's a beautiful experience from a political position, simply because I have absolute focus on really on the bottom line here, and that bottom line is to get us into space. Bridget.
Yes, one thing for all of our new members, even if you're on a committee or you've chosen your 2 new committees, do not think that this is the end, that you're only working in those 2 committees. You can work with any of the committees as a team member. If you see what they're doing and you have an idea, speak up. If you would like to do a proposal and ask one of their committee to sponsor it, go ahead. Remember, our committees are meant to work together, not separately. So no matter what, even if you are a part of 2 committees already, you can work outside of your committees and integrate with each other. We're a team here. So let's work together and get this forest growing.
Thank you, Bridget. And you'll discover Bridget is one of the people who deserves to be on that first spacecraft more than most. She has totally devoted herself to Asgardia, and long may that continue as well, Bridget. Sarah, welcome. Over to you.
Yes, thank you. Well, I finally figured out how to raise my hand. That was embarrassing. I was the person who was actually raising her hand.
No, it's good. I forget to lower mine. It's fine. Don't worry at all. Don't
So
worry.
embarrassing. Okay, so just to confirm for voting, for those of us who haven't voted before, we log in through the website, we go to polls, and then this item number 1, just the first sitting of the second parliament, we click on it and we vote, correct?
That's right. And if you make a mistake, then let us know, and we can usually change it as well. Basically, just if you keep us abreast of what you're doing, then that would be, if there's a problem, then we can usually fix that problem as well. And don't worry, everybody makes a few mistakes. I sometimes yeah, I do that as well. Everybody does it. But you'll discover very quickly that by being here, Sarah, you will become more experienced, or no one will be more experienced than you in any Zoom you ever do anywhere in your life, because we do this every week. We have had thousands of meetings, and we have our own etiquette. So that's a transferable skill from space back to Earth. But any problems, just let us know. It's formal, but it's friendly, I hope.
Brilliant, thank you.
Ariadne, then Jason. Ariadne. Was it Ariadne? I think it was.
Gracias. Ok, en primer lugar, quiero decir...
Thank you. First of all, I would like to say that the light protects Lembic Open. The voting was happening, and the light went off in my house. So it's happening. It's been happening. So that would be a great reason for not being presiding this. Something else that I wanted to comment on is there's like active spaces. No, you go to a committee and you don't see the door closed, and the committees are always looking at connections that create bridges in between the other committees. You start noticing why it is important to change committees, or why you decide to stay in one of them. I think that if you serve, for example, in my case, I would love to stay in science. I would be working with Asgardia too. But I see that culture has the possibilities of creating activities to bring money to the committees, science committee. And I think the Minister of Culture that we had before, all the job that she did with all the fundraising for Asgardia Baby, or all the concerts and all that, but the idea would be fabulous. When you see an exposition and you with this picture, I would like to keep it. Of course, I would like to keep it. Of course, that's depends on the amount of money that you want to spend. But for example, concert, you say that you would want to spend money to go to see that singer. And maybe that is the same thing for Asgardia. Maybe there's some people that think that trade and commerce. And yes, talking to Bridget, I was commenting to her that that she has great qualities, and in bringing all the things and food or her ideas on food to give it to astronauts. She would be working with Trade and Commerce, and she would be with another committee, probably culinary culture. I'm just giving you these examples so that you understand how each committee collaborate with each other and create the synergy. So thank you.
Thank you, Ariadne. And you'll discover Ariadne is one of the great bright lights of Asgardia. She's always smiling, always insightful, and always very hardworking as well. And it's just great to see you back here in our assembly. Jason and then Ricky. Jason, welcome to Asgardia's Parliament. Yeah, Jason. Yeah, it's you. You need to unmute though.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm
yeah, we can.
But I can't hear it. I don't know if you talk to me or not. But I have a question is talk about LDA before. I had that when people die the LDA, would it protect both sides? Like if I gave you my program and we shut it, would you keep it or would it stay with me? Does the LDA protect both sides or just for Australia only?
Okay. Basically, we don't take.
So I voted in the shot. The visa.
Thank you. We don't take things from people. What you have is still yours. We don't want anyone to give things that belong to them in a moral sense away. What we give that we can't get back is our time, and that's really it. Our wisdom stays with us even if we share it. Our energy stays with us even if we use it. And our team becomes part of us rather than we becoming part of a team. Maybe it's both those two things at the same time. So don't worry, we're not trying to take anything from anybody. It's actually, I was a British member of Parliament for 13 years, and I will make the general point that Asgardia is the most positive political environment I've ever been involved in. Maybe because we don't have political parties, but it's a shared mission. And so I hope, Jason, you and everybody here get more back from Asgardia than we put in, even if we put a lot in. Certainly for me, this is a central element of my life now, and I don't regret that for a moment. Hopefully that answered your question, and I like your background as well, by the way. If you're actually in space, we're going to have to talk to you. Is there space for more people? Ricky, you might be our last speaker.
Yes, I just wanted to go over what Bridget had said. Even though you may be in, like me, I'm going back to safety and security, but I'm also going to put in for the science committee because I'm working with the satellite project. You could be in any committee, and what you're going to find is that a lot of these committees overlap as to what they're doing. And so even though let's say, okay, you're in science, you're going to have some overlap with manufacturing and such, because if you're working on a project and you have to find people to do it, and that you have to make sure that they're ISO certified to be able to do a particular type of project, such as a satellite and things like this. So you are going to have the overlap on a lot of committees. And like with cybersecurity, the main overlap is going to be between safety and security and information and communication. Everyone else will be involved also, but those will be the two main areas that will basically be in charge of cybersecurity, But yeah, I just wanted to explain a little bit more about what Bridget was saying.
Thanks.
So that, everyone has a better understanding, because I know, everyone's from different parts of the world, and that they have different understandings of things. So thank you.
Thanks, Ricky. I don't want to get really any further into talking about the details of committees today. We're doing that on Sunday. I will have one more announcement about verification just before we finish. But John, over to you, and then I'm going to conclude for the day. John.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to comment on the intellectual property comment that was made. I know me personally, I do my best to try to protect everybody's intellectual property. And when we had our discussions in committee or whatever, and something like that came up, I would go out of my way to make sure that intellectual property was protected. So, and people have seen it in my presentations also, when something was, confidential, I made sure I put it on the presentation. But like Lambert says, we're not in an atmosphere where people want to steal people's thoughts and ideals and what have you. And I also try to go through all the previous proposals and check to see if anybody's already had an ideal before I submit an ideal, which is something everybody should try to do. And it's when you get in the Google account, it's really easy. You just go in there in your Google Drive, type in a keyword, and it'll pop up all the proposals that was ever written on your Asgardia Google Drive. So, but anyway, and I think just about everybody does that. So anyway, I just wanted to add that.
Thank you, and we'll talk more about the committees and how they operate, and all this on Sunday as well. So a few announcements actually. First of all, the Prime Minister, who is up for consideration tomorrow for reappointment, has posted some very useful things in the chat. At 2006 BST, so that's 1906 UTC, you'll find something, and 2008 and 2009 on my BST, British Summer Time. If you have a look at those, they're really helpful. And actually, for those of us who have been here before, it's a good reminder about what we've already done. We've done so much. And now we're moving into the next phase where, as a new team, with about 60 new members and 90 existing, or 78 new members and 80 existing, we've got new energy and new momentum. So do have a look at those things. The other thing is that existing returned parliamentarians do not need to prove their identity. The new parliamentarians will. That will mainly happen on Sunday. If I can, we will do some tomorrow as well, but mainly it will be on Sunday. You will need to have photo identification, and we'll do this offline. It won't be in the whole group, and it will be with our legal one of our lawyers, Peter Morn, who has agreed to help on Sunday, and I might be able to do some myself tomorrow as well. We'll see. And it's just to make sure that everybody's identification is consistent with what we received in the election. It's a standard procedure. Last time I traveled around the world to do it. This time we're doing it digitally because we think we found some robust ways, thanks to people like Ricky Sickles, in terms of safety and security, and also in terms of information and communication. So please have at least one piece of photo ID with you tomorrow and Sunday, and we'll get the new people all verified. That's really important to us to maintain the integrity of our democracy. I've got one more announcement after Ross, so over to you, Ross.
It was just a quick question about verification for me. Will I still need to do it?
Yes, because you will do, but we can do it very quickly. And I understand why you're asking that. If you've got any photo ID, then what we'll need to do is ideally the photo ID that you used for your good question. Ideally, if you use the same photo identification you used for your nomination, that would be the quickest thing to do. And you'll hold it up and I don't know if I've got a passport on me. I usually do. Yeah, you'd open your passport, you'd hold it up, and then we have that then as a record, and then it'll be myself or Peter Morn and a very small number of other people who are authorized to do this, because we have to take our security seriously. We need to know that the people who are in our parliament are the people who we believe they are. That's the good thing. That's Ariadne's actually got her ID there. Don't give us your details. Put it down. Don't show your details. Put it away. I'm sorry, I couldn't stop her doing that. Now the world has Ariadne's details. We don't do that in public. So Ross, yeah, we'll do that privately. Yeah, so that's what we'd like to do. Right, so please have your photo ID ready tomorrow and also on Sunday, and we'll get through them all in the next two days. So in order for the Counting Commission and the Mandate Commission to be able to do their work and really firm up the voting for tomorrow morning, we're going to finish now. To remind you, I've been elected to preside over these 3 days. There's a different decision to be made tomorrow. It's about the next 5 years, but these 3 days. The Mandate Commission is operating, and it will hopefully be confirmed in the next, well, certainly in the next 48 hours, but we'll have a strong impression of the vote tomorrow, and also the Counting Commission. Thank you, everybody, for our first session. The way we do this is we stop the broadcast and we stop this feed when we get to the opposite of the quorum. We get 50% minus 1. So we got to 77. I think we actually got to 79 earlier on. So half of 79 minus 1 is 38, I think. Was 80, yeah, 38. When we get to 38, then we'll stop the broadcast. Thank you, everybody, for this. You're going to really enjoy being in Asgardia. It's exciting. Some people have been waiting a long time because they were too young the last time. Others are here for the first time. And we think about those colleagues who did not get elected. There will still be space for them in the civic society of Asgardia, and we will talk more about that on Sunday as well. Tomorrow morning, please be on time. We start at 10:00 UTC. Very exciting. The head of nation, Dr. Igor Ashabeli, the man to whom we owe gratitude because all of this has happened thanks to him. He will be addressing you, the Parliament, and the world on on what will be the second day of the first sitting of the second session of Asgardia's Parliament. Don't miss that, please. So 10:00 tomorrow morning. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll shut the feed at 38. Thanks to the team. Thanks to the interpreters. See you tomorrow. And as we say, oh-ho, which means
Oh-ho.
one humanity, one unity.
Oh, Asgardia.
It may seem strange. You'll have to practice that.
Yeah.
Long life and
Excellent for that.
to everyone.
We've been doing this for a long time. See you tomorrow.